Hey there, my name is Megan and welcome to my channel, or welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing a book review for The Traitor by Anthony Ryan. So first things, if you can hear some noise in the background, that's because my cat is going absolutely crazy up here, and I usually kick him out when I film, but I'm just not going to chase him around. He might leave on its own, so if you hear like chirping or meowing, that's my cat. The Traitor is the third and final book in Anthony Ryan's Covenant of Steel series, and it is an adult fantasy, low magic type story. I do have full reviews for the first two books, The Pariah and The Martyr. If you're interested in checking them out, I will link them up in the cards as well as in the description box below. Now, because this is the third and final book in the series, I will be including spoilers in this review because it would be very hard to discuss this book without revealing spoilers for this whole series in general. The way that I normally set up my reviews is I talk about what this book is about, things that I liked and things that I didn't like, and then I give the book an overall rating and let you know if I think you should read it. If you're just interested in skipping to any one of those particular topics, I'll put timestamps down below. So obviously the Traitor picks up right where the Martyr left off, and we have Alwyn Scribe, and he is completely and 100% devoted to Evadine, who is the risen martyr, and she is gathering all of these forces together to say that she's fighting for the good of, the kingdom, and to save this kingdom and the surrounding lands from the Malicite, which are like these bad beings. I'm just going to call them demons. They're like demons. And what Alwyn comes to realize at the end of The Martyr is that Evadine is essentially working for the Malicite, and that she has fooled everybody into thinking that she is the good guy, when in actuality she is the opposite. And this has slowly been building up over the course of the first two books, and Anthony Ryan threw tidbits in here and there that caused me, the reader, to question whether Evadine was actually as good and noble as she was pretending to be. And by book three, it is completely evident that everything in the first two books, all of her actions and words were a complete facade, and that she is 100% working for the Malicite. And then Alwyn has to decide what he wants to do, because he has been completely devoted to Evadine for years now. He was her confidant, her captain, and then towards the end of book two, even her lover. So he has to decide if it's worth turning coat and fighting against Evadine. So he does decide to do that, which is why the book is named The Traitor. So basically everything that Alwyn has been working up towards in books 1 and 2 is completely flipped on its head. He has to go back to all the people that he originally fought against, ask their forgiveness, let him know what Evadine is actually doing, and help them prepare their forces to fight against her. So he was definitely a complete turncoat. So this concluding story is just everything that Alwyn had learned up until this point, the culmination of all his decisions, good and bad, and the consequences of those decisions, how he's going to deal with Evadine now that he knows the truth about her. And then also, like I said, this is a spoilery discussion. They were lovers, and Alwyn finds out that Evadine is pregnant, and she does birth their son. So now he has additional motivation to make sure that Evadine cannot continue to conquer all of these lands and hurt all these people. And then we have the Sack Witch, which Alwyn encountered in The Pariah, the first book, and kind of the prophecies, I guess, that she gave him. And there are interactions between Alwyn and the Sack Witch, and that is a big part of the ending of the book as well. So now I'm going to go on to the things that I liked about this book. So the first thing I liked was just how much character growth Alwyn had over the course of these three books. Like, he changed so much as a person. He is no longer the young outlaw with very little conscience or very little moral compass. That is completely changed by book three, as he realizes that it does matter what side you fight on. And I really loved Alwyn's internal struggles, because some of the themes of this book that Anthony Ryan touched on was just blind devotion to somebody. What makes you devoted to somebody? And it touched a bit on fanaticism. Because Alwyn had a history with Evadine. They went through traumas together, but what exactly was really binding his love for her? So it just begs the question, is love really blind? Because Alwyn in his heart knew the truth about Evadine, yet he continued to serve her for a long time before he made the decision to turn coat. And it just made me think about how many people enable their loved ones under the guise of love, or allow bad things to happen to them, thinking that the other person loves them. So it was a bit hard to read at times, knowing what she really was and what she was doing to him. But that just made it all sweeter when Alwyn finally had that eureka moment. I also really like the expansion of the world in this book. So in book 2, Alwyn did spend some time with the Seraph, but then in this book, we get just more time in their lands and in their world. We learn more about them. We learn more about how they govern, and we get taken to kind of this mystical setting in the Seraph lands that Alwyn has to go to in order to retrieve something to help defeat Evadine. So there was just a lot of backstory, a lot of mysticism that had to do with that, and the fantastical elements were just woven in there really well. I also liked the camaraderie that Anthony Ryan created in book 3. So we have a lot of characters in this series that kind of go in and out, and there's a lot of fighting in this book, a ton of battles. So obviously you have characters that come and go because they die, but there are a couple characters that stayed true throughout the majority of the series. So we have Willem, and then we have the Widow. And there's just a core group of characters that really support Alwyn, and it was almost like a found family trope, and I really liked that because in this book, like, he's being accused of being a traitor, and there's a target on his back, and Evadine is powerful, and she's trying to come after him, and these people are still very true to him, despite, you know, the mistakes that he made. I really did like the ending for this book. So Alwyn essentially takes his son, and he and the Widow, who she expressed like romantic interest in him, and I'm assuming Alwyn feels the same way, they escape to these island nations to disappear forever and help raise Alwyn's son. And we also get a return of Toria, if I'm remembering her name correctly, from book 1. So this was Alwyn's companion in book 1, and I kept asking like why Anthony Ryan would introduce a character in book 1 that's so close to Alwyn, or only to like have her disappear at the end of the book. But yes, she does return in book 3 as a sea captain, and she definitely helps him fight against Evadine using her ships, as well as a bunch of people from the Shavine Marshes, people that he used to know as an outlaw. So all of these people came together to help him. So I absolutely love just seeing those different elements of the first 2 books finally brought together at the end. And it was just a really satisfying ending in my opinion. And this book did set up for a spin-off series with Alwyn's son. So I'm really excited to see if Anthony Ryan's actually going to continue in this world with Alwyn's son. I would definitely read that. As for the things I didn't like so much, the first half of the book did get a little bit repetitive because it is essentially Evadine trying to conquer all of these lands and rally these troops under her banner, her fake banner of this risen martyr, this daughter of the Seraphil, this good person. And a lot of the first half of the book is fighting, battles, and Evadine and Alwyn trying to convince people to join them, and all of these fanatics believing her, trying to join them. And I was thinking to myself, this book really needs to switch gears soon because it's getting really repetitive, and then it did. So once Alwyn essentially decides to, you know, become a traitor, then the book takes a completely different turn, and the second half of the book was just so much more enjoyable because we get to see Alwyn returning back to folks that he had originally scorned and trying to rebuild relationships, and then we get that expansion into the Seraph world, and then we have those magical elements. As for the fantastical elements, while I did enjoy them, I found them to be fairly vague. So Alwyn had to travel to the Seraph lands to this specific place to retrieve what's known as the stone feather. And the stone feather is just this magical artifact, and he is going to need it to defeat Evadine. And what it does is it allows him to see ghosts, essentially. And there was that whole part of this book where Alwyn is able to see spirits and talk to spirits, and he saw spirits whom he knew in the real life, and they were giving him advice and kind of portending and letting him know what might happen in the future, and just little tidbits to help him be successful. But I just thought there was going to be more to that, because in the end I was thinking that scene in like Lord of the Rings where Aragorn has to get the dead to help fight against the orcs, and I'm like, maybe that's going to happen in this book, and it didn't. So I just felt like the fact that Alwyn could see spirits whenever he had the stone feather on them, like, I didn't really understand 100% the whole meaning behind that entire part of the magic system. Unless it was just for Alwyn to learn stuff from these spirits, I just thought there was going to be way more, and there wasn't. And as for the stone feather itself, yes, that is what Evadine died by, but it wasn't Alwyn that wielded it. It was actually the Widow. So I just felt like there was a little bit lack of cohesiveness in that part of the story. I don't know, I just would have liked more clarity. It wasn't horrible, it wasn't bad, I just wanted a little bit more clarity. All in all, I really enjoyed The Traitor. I thought it was a great conclusion to the series. I recommend this series overall if you like books that are battle-filled, follow really rich, deep characters in their journeys, and I ended up giving this book 4.5 out of 5 stars. All right, you guys, let me know in the comments if you've read this book and what you thought of it, or if you've read The Pariah or The Martyr, and I will see y'all in another video soon. Goodbye.